Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we're discussing the tragic incident that occurred at a under 9-year-old football scrimmage game. And this goes to the fact that we always knew parents could get a little crazy at some of these sporting events for the kids. It's been a long-term problem going on for many years. It gets really tragic, the anger that can let loose, even in a place like a scrimmage football game for kids under 9 years old. And this tragedy is something you just do not expect. We see fights, we see brawls, we see things happen. But when this fight between two teams leads to someone dying, that is extremely tragic. Worse yet, there were kids all over. And so we're going to be diving into this senseless killing at the 9 under football scrimmage game. My friends, if this is the type of content you like to follow, please hit on that subscribe button. And if you do find some value in this video, please hit that like button because that tells YouTube there's value here. Show it to more people. And here's my whole point. My whole point around this channel is to keep you aware and updated at what could possibly go wrong. And I can tell you, as someone who has seen worst case scenarios a lot, that is on my mind pretty much all the time now. Like, if this happens, what if this happens? We've seen so many stories, and here's another one. Rest in peace, Coach Hickmon. This senseless killing at this scrimmage game, it's unbelievable. The world of youth sports has changed dramatically over the years. You know, back in the day, you could just play in your neighborhood, play stickball, play games. I remember when I was young, I remember playing on a baseball team in Little League. I don't remember parents getting too crazy. I don't quite remember any tragic incident. But it's not like that anymore, it seems. All these elite travel teams that go in and out of state playing other programs, all the money that's invested in hopes that these kids can go big time some days, generally pushed by the parents. But Saturday night, August 13th, in Lancaster, Texas, tempers really boiled over between two youth 9 and under football coaching staffs and a coach, Michael Hickmon, who was shot and killed on the field. These two teams were playing football. It's a scrimmage game, which means preseason. The season didn't even begin. Not that this makes it okay, but the scrimmage game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How do people let the heat really get to them? I don't understand. A man was wanted and has since turned himself in. Yaqub Talib, who happens to be the brother of a former NFL player and broadcast announcer, Aqib Talib. In this video that has now gone viral, there's a lot of arguing about how a youth football scrimmage ended. Then you hear about 4 or 5 shots ring out and Hickmon is shot and killed. And the Lancaster Police Department, they release a statement about the tragic and senseless incident. And they say on August 13, 2022, at approximately 8:50 p.m., Lancaster police were dispatched to multiple calls services at 1749 Jefferson Place, Lancaster, Texas, commonly known as Lancaster Community Park. The Lancaster Community Park is a community activity park that encompasses several youth football fields. And upon arrival, officers were notified of a disagreement among coaching staffs and the officiating crew. And during the disagreement, the opposing coaching staff, they were involved in a physical altercation, and one of the individuals involved in the altercation discharged a firearm, striking one adult male. The victim was transported to a local hospital for treatment where he was later pronounced dead. And this is sad because this type of violent aggression, this has become a repetitive theme in youth sports. Parents, coaches, they berate referees who are making little to no money to call these games, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. But when games end in controversy, it's nothing to see parents and coaches run up to try and fight referees or just straight attacking them. In some cases, the referees have even fought back to defend themselves. But in most situations, they're extremely outnumbered by everyone in the stands, everyone who's upset, and then it becomes a personal showcase for the coaches and not about the athletes. And as someone who coaches over 50 kids, we compete in tournaments, national tournaments, different tournaments. I've never seen anything like this in the particular sport that I coach, but I've not seen anything to this extent. You know, and when this type of stuff happens, it sets a sad precedent in showing our youth actions that completely contradict what sports should even be about, which is all about team sports and how it pertains to life and learning how to deal with defeat and how to learn how to be stronger and learn how to deal with setbacks. If you're in baseball, you strike out, it's a sucky feeling, but you get back up and do it again. The former NFL player, who is the brother of Yaqub Talib, his brother, Aqib Talib, he was present when this crazy incident occurred. And according to his lawyer, he is very distraught and devastated over this terrible loss of life. And he would like to convey his condolences to the family of the victim and to everyone who witnessed the unfortunate tragedy. The Talib brothers, with Yaqub being the oldest, they both grew up in both the Cleveland and Trenton, New Jersey areas, places known for being tough inner cities with high crime rates. Yaqub has talked about their upbringing and how it shaped them in a 2015 interview with the Denver Post. And he says, where we grew up, you fought quicker than normal. You didn't want anybody to see a weakness. It was the culture we grew up in. I was the only one of my whole street who went to high school. We had kids Aqib's age. He was in 5th or 6th grade. Some of his friends had already stopped going to school. They'd just chill. When Aqib came home from school, he'd chill with them. Looking back on it, I think it created an us against the world attitude. And that's the same attitude Aqib displayed during his NFL career, and it helped him become a Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro, and 5-time Pro Bowler. Coach Hickmon's death, it hit early, Sunday morning, August 14th, and many sent their condolences. One of those was from NBA player turned ESPN analyst Kendrick Perkins, who tweeted about the situation. Mr. Perkins, he tweeted, this was a coach for a youth football team in Dallas, Texas. I don't know this coach and I've never met him a day in my life, but I do know that he didn't deserve to have his life taken in front of his 9-year-old son over no damn little football. Rest in peace, Coach Mike. This is seriously a senseless killing. When this coach wakes up that morning pretty excited for his team, little did he know an altercation would happen at the end. Shots go off and one hits him. You never think something like that can happen to you that day, right? That's such a tragic thing. And Mr. Perkins, he himself witnessed the craziness in youth sports firsthand this summer on the AAU basketball court. And he even said, it's not about sports anymore. He talked about fights breaking out, teams using players above the correct age. Unfortunately, this also happens in football as well. And he shares a message I want to share. I think this is a great message. If you're a coach, if you're a parent, this stuff has to be taken serious.
Hey, listen, man. I had to come on here and address a problem real quick. I'm down here in Dallas right now. One of my sons had an AAU tournament, and today we lost in the semifinals to a great Memphis team. Memphis Prep, shout out to y'all. Man, y'all did y'all thing. Y'all played the right way. Y'all actually had the right grade. Y'all didn't try to cheat the system. That's another story, okay? But I don't know what's going on with this AAU basketball no more, because when I was playing, these type of things that I witnessed over this weekend, this wasn't going down when I was playing. They had 2 fights break out today in the gym, and parents fighting in the stands in front of kids that's running around the gym and playing. They got parents fighting, teams getting disqualified, teams cheating, adding older kids and bringing them down to play in younger groups, all to win a trophy. What are you teaching your kids, man? What are y'all teaching y'all kids? Y'all sure ain't teaching them to have no certain type of morals or no competitive spirit. Y'all teaching them how to cheat. And then on top of that, I'm hearing kids curse kids out on the court. I'm talking about 10, 11, and 9-year-olds. And you got to be learning that from the crib. Because if my son say anything, or my son say anything out of character, it's going to be me and them when we get back to the house. But this AAU stuff is ridiculous. It's not even about basketball no more. This is a business. And guys are doing whatever, teams are doing whatever just to win a trophy, man. It's getting out of hand. And I had to come and address this problem because I had to leave the gym because I got a headache because I'm in the middle of the game, and on the next court, it's two grown men fighting over a game, over a 10U game, a fourth grade fight, where kids are watching these people fight. Hey man, this is out of control. AAU, all you people out there who are running tournaments, man, y'all need to clean this up, man. Y'all out of control, man. Parents, y'all need to get y'all stuff together.
Lancaster is a city of about 40,000 people just south of Dallas, Texas. And investigators, they spoke with several witnesses who stated that there was a disagreement between the opposing coaching staff of two youth football teams over calls made by the officiating crew. And the altercation became physical, leading to the suspect pulling out a firearm and shooting Mr. Hickmon multiple times. At this time, no other injuries have been reported. And after the shooting, the suspect fled the scene in an unidentified vehicle, taking the firearm with him. Before long, Lancaster investigators did identify the shooter as 39-year-old Yaqub Talib, and so a warrant for murder, which is a first-degree felony, was issued. And this morning, as of this morning, August 15th, 2022, Yaqub turned himself into Dallas County Jail. And so the circumstances leading to the murder are still under investigation. The sad part is several witnesses and children were present during the incident. Now, Yaqub, who is 3.5 years older than Aqib, the former NFL player, Mike Hickmon, was only 43 years old when he was killed in this senseless act of violence. Right as the altercation occurred, you can see Yaqub right here when the melee was going on. And he was wearing all black and a bucket hat. What breaks my heart, besides the shooting in general, is that the victim's son witnessed this. He was right there. Yaqub Talib's attorney, Clark Birdsall, he had confirmed that his client turned himself into authorities at the Dallas County Jail. And the attorney released a statement on behalf of Yaqub Talib saying, Mr. Talib regrets the tragic loss of life, but went ahead and turned himself into the law this morning so his side of the story could be told. What side? You pulled out a gun and started shooting. Unless you felt threatened that he was going to kill you, good luck proving why you shot any gun. Mr. Hickmon, he was a coach with the youth football team DEA Dragon. And the president of the Dragons, he is quoted saying, "We saw one of our coaches laying down on the ground right there. It was tough. More than just a coach. Great father, great man, great role model, great mentor." And a friend of Mike Hickmon, Tavar Watson, he owns the team and he was on another field cleaning up at the time of the shooting. And he's been friends with Hickmon for roughly a decade after the two played in a 9v9 adult football league. And he says, "I think it's all senseless, man. Yesterday was probably the worst day of my life, man. Lost a good guy, what we call a stand-up guy, one of the guys that's there for his family." And Watson, he said there was roughly 80 kids that were in the area when it happened. And he said, "I held my son after that for 20 minutes of him just crying because no kid should have to see that." The Dragons president, Mike Freeman, he said that the argument started when Hickmon went to pick up a football and someone kicked it away, that led to the fighting and eventually the shooting. Mr. Freeman said that Hickmon, he had been an offensive coordinator on the team for 2 years and made a name for himself playing at Maceo Smith High School and then the University of North Texas. His son was one of the 9-year-olds on the field at the time of the shooting. Mr. Freeman said, "I held his son little Mike Jr., and I held him like my son, and it was very, very, very hard to hold him and console him because, again, just letting him know that we'll be there for him. And during this football game at the end, you can see how people were getting frustrated with all of it. And even this gentleman you see on the screen, he was trying to get to another referee while this guy was trying to hold him back. You see, this is not the first time that Yaqub Talib has been in trouble. On June 29, 2014, shortly before about 1:45 a.m., a large number of people attending a party became involved in a verbal and physical altercation inside a club. Included in that group was Mr. Yaqub Talib, who at that time was 31 years old. And witnesses reported that Mr. Yaqub Talib was intoxicated, had thrown bottles, and engaged others in physical confrontation. A large number of these people were ejected from the club and continued the disturbance outside, and Dallas police officers were called to the location. Mr. Yaqub Talib was observed by officers to be the primary instigator in the disturbance. He allegedly tells officers that he played ball in the NFL, and several others around him that were with him told officers that he played for the Denver Broncos. And so officers, they attempted to diffuse the situation and instructed everyone to leave but Mr. Yaqub Talib. He continued the aggressive behavior, and officers found him to be a danger to himself and others. He was placed under arrest for public intoxication. Mr. Yaqub Talib presented his Texas driver's license as identification. And so supervisors at the scene, they notified the communications section that an NFL player from the Denver Broncos had been arrested, but the communications supervisor did not understand the spelling of the name and said she would Google the Broncos' current roster for the spelling. And so a supervisor at communications confirmed the correct spelling of the Denver Broncos player as Aqib Talib from that roster, and then notified the command staff. And so subsequent internal Dallas police emails used both Aqib and Yaqub and listed him as a Denver Broncos football player. And so a tweet with the incorrect information was sent, not in keeping with normal protocol, and listed the wrong brother as having been arrested. You see, at first, news outlets were saying that the Denver Broncos player was the one arrested for public intoxication, but then they corrected themselves and said, "We regret that this incorrect information was sent and extend our apologies to Mr. Aqib Talib because it was his brother, not him." You see how easy misinformation could get spread out there? And so it sounds like this guy might have a little history, as he says it in himself. He grew up having to be quick to protect himself, not take any shorts from anybody. And this is where he's at today. Now, he may never see the light of day, or he may. We don't know. This is a developing story, and this is the early stages. We do know that he shot Mr. Coach Hickmon. Rest in peace, Coach Hickmon. Taken from this world way too soon. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Deep True Crime. I look forward to serving you again, my friends. Peace.